Welcome, everybody. It's so fantastic to see you all on a very special day. My name is Alain Barker, and I'm here to welcome you to the Innovation in Art Song Summit at Indiana University Jacobs School of Music. I'm the director of the Office of Entrepreneurship and Career Development, and we are partnering with the Voice Department in the Jacobs School of Music to bring you this wonderful celebration of such an amazing genre. We have more than 170 registrations for the summit from all over the country, as well as guests from abroad, including England and China. Wuhan, China. We've got somebody from Wuhan here. I'm going to start with a few remarks, and then I'm going to be doing some introductions and a few little reminders along the way. But I'd like to start, since my role is in the Jacobs School of Music, Director of Entrepreneurship and Career Development. I'd say perhaps I can talk a little bit about what are we talking about when we mention the word innovation. And I spent a little bit of time just looking at the origins of the word, the Latin origin, which is innovare, which is very interesting because its basic meaning is to renew or change. And I thought that was very interesting in terms of what we're going to be experiencing over the next 2 days. A process that renews, but isn't necessarily the introduction of something new altogether. So perhaps in the next conversations that we're having today and tomorrow, we're thinking about innovation as change in the way that we make decisions and choices as artists. In a musical sense, perhaps it's about transformation rooted in the origins of the genre, a continuum of change dependent on circumstance, inspired and propelled by the ecosystem of time, place, technology, culture, and most importantly, the stories that we want to tell. How and where we tell our stories through the amazing genre of art song will be the focus of this weekend's summit, and it's going to be very exciting for all of us to see where the conversations take us. One final point that I want to just make about innovation is there's a difference between innovation and invention. And perhaps that's something that we could also be thinking about. Invention points to the creation of something new altogether, whereas, as I'm suggesting here, we're thinking more about renewing and changing within a genre. So with those few words, I'd like to welcome you once again to the Art Song Summit. And I'm going to switch gears in just a few things to talk about. Please join us on Slack. We'd love to have you in the conversation there. There have been some wonderful conversations so far. So if you want to jump onto Slack, that'd be really great. And if you have any difficulty getting there, please be sure to let us know. We're here to help you get there. Also, when we go through our sessions on Zoom, you're very welcome to put thoughts in the chat of Zoom. We'll be keeping the Zoom sessions going for about 20 minutes after each session so that we can mingle and have conversations between ourselves, since we're such an amazing group of people who are going to be joining us for this. Also, just watch that mute button. Make sure that you're all muted so that we can hear the people who are talking. I'd like to introduce our team. We've got Spencer Boyd, who's a doctoral student in the voice program here. He's a member of the Office of Entrepreneurship Career Development as part of Project Jumpstart as a student leadership team from Ohio, and he loves art song. He's very, very involved in singing and developing his own work in art song. Colin Knapp is a master's student from the O'Neill School of Public and Environmental Affairs. Fabulous organist, studied at the University of Michigan, also connected to Michigan Opera Theater. He's here at Indiana University, continuing his studies in arts administration. And I have to tell you that both Spencer and Colin have been knockout amazing in preparing this summit. Also, I'd like to thank the Jacobs School of Music voice faculty members who've been on our team, advising, mentoring, and supporting us as we go along. Julia Bentley, Alan Armstrong, Brian Horne, and Brian Gill. There are a few sponsors that I'd like to quickly thank. The Office of the Vice President for Research at Indiana University, who provided funding for this whole project. I'd like to especially give a shout out to Ed Commentale, who's been so supportive and helpful along the way. The voice department generally and the Jacobs School of Music Administration have been very helpful. The Jacobs Communications Department, and then the student organization called New Voices Opera that is a partner in this project as well. I'd also like to thank my colleagues in the Office of Entrepreneurship and Creative Development who've been so great along the way as we've put this together. So with that, I'd like to introduce the one and only Brian Horne. Brian, it's so wonderful to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. Are you there? Yes, and you can unmute when you want.
I had to find the unmute button.
Oh, no problem at all.
You.
So Brian Horne is Associate Professor of Music and Voice and the chair of the Department of Voice. So Brian, it's fabulous to have you here, and I invite you to just say a few words.
Thank you so much. A very few words, and I appreciate that invitation. I was so excited to see this program come along, this summit come along for a number of reasons. But I've had my master's and doctorate here from IU, so I've had some affiliation with the school for 36 years. Coming and leaving, coming back and leaving, coming back at this time. And the IU, we have a worldwide and international reputation, but a lot of that I think comes from the opera theater, and that's understandable. The notoriety of the opera theater. Just in the time that I've been here, we've done the premiere or the collegiate premiere of The Revolution of Steve Jobs, It's a Wonderful Life, Vincent, A Wedding, A View from the Bridge, Our Town. We did Parsifal last year, which is the first time it had been done in North America for 5 years, I believe. So there's reason for that. But the art song community and the art song program and the affection for art song here is just as extraordinary. Just on the size of our program, the size of our school enables us to have not just one person whose specialty is art song, but to have Marianne Hart, Gary Arvin, Julia Bentley, Alan Armstrong, Daniel Overly, Zachary Coates, all involved. So they all have different perspectives. They all have different areas of expertise, and students have the opportunity to rub off on that and to rub elbows with them and to absorb those specialties. So it's really an extraordinary thing. And I think just the fact that Jeremy is the primary performer of this particular event tells the story of Jacobs as well. Jeremy was the title role in The Revolution of Steve Jobs just a few years ago. And now here he is with the, I don't want to speak for him, but one of the loves of his heart anyway, with the creative thinking, with the innovation, if you will, think new ways of thinking about kind of old material in some ways. With this and creating and putting a product out there and synthesizing the thoughts he has and the experiences he has from the educators in his past, but at the moment here with this. And you see that cross-training in other ways. Jeremy with this and the title role in Steve Jobs. Jamie Barton won the Song Prize and the Opera Prize at the Cardiff Singer of the World. She wasn't just a fantastic and isn't just a fantastic opera singer produced by an opera factory. That's just not the fact. That is not the case. It is an extraordinary musical training, and it's the creative thinking is enabled because we have the creative thinking, the talent, and the resources and the infrastructure to put that together. And so I'm thrilled to see this and awfully proud. Jeremy is this big to me right now on my screen, but it's fantastic to see you again and awfully proud of your work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you. It's really great to have you with us, and thank you so much for the support that you've provided on this voyage of discovery as we've put the summit together. I'm going to switch gears and invite Spencer Boyd to give us a few comments about, we sent out a survey to all of you over the past week, and we've got some really fabulous responses from. Thank you so much for all of you who were able to do that. And we've got Spencer to give us a few ideas of how that all panned out.
All right. Hello, everyone. Like Alain said, I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited. This summit, I think, will just spark all sorts of wonderful ideas about art song and just shed light on the wonderful things that are already happening in innovation in art song. So we had over 30 survey results for our survey, and we had some really interesting remarks. Mostly we had teachers and we had performers. There were also some composers and some fans of art song as well. So I'm just going to go through some of the brief responses as to what we all think innovation in art song is. So our first question was, what do you love most about art song? There were some really great answers to this question. We had a skilled composer can take an already profound text and elevate it to a level that speaks directly to our souls, even if we don't know the language. Magic. Like the poetry upon which it is based, it can pack an emotional wallop into 3 minutes and startle us back into our humanity. Vulnerability. Good art is personal, and art song is an extremely intimate art form. I also love that it's not about singing impressively. It is about singing and communicating truthfully. It is human. And these are all, of course, results from you all. And we also had, which I thought was really great, somebody saying, looking forward to learning more about it. So whoever wrote that, we are so happy that you're here. We want to inspire you to learn more about art song. So do you consider art song to be an evolving genre? So by the numbers, we had 15 respondents say yes, absolutely. I do consider it to be an evolving genre. 11 said yes in some ways, 2 no opinion, 1 not entirely, and 1 no not at all. So there's some confliction here clearly. The majority saying yes, but there's still a little bit of difference in opinion here. A couple quotes we pulled when we asked respondents to write more about it said, I see it as expanding and becoming more interdisciplinary. I love the idea of fusing art forms together, displaying relevant visual art during a performance, incorporating dancers, etc. I love this as well. Living composers are doing an excellent job of creating art songs that have texts and music to which today's classical singers can relate. Just a couple responses there. Is art song relevant to the world you live in? This one was a little more unanimous. We still have a couple here down at the bottom though. So 20 people said yes, absolutely, it's relevant. 7 said yes in some ways, 1 not entirely, and 1 no, not at all. Couple responses here. Yes, art song is an essentially human expression. The problem is that it is often framed in a way that can be alienating or distancing for people from different backgrounds. If you aren't comfortable going into a concert hall or can't afford to, then classical music in its current form must feel pretty irrelevant. I'd like to work to bridge those gaps. So really practical opinion there. Down here at the bottom, I also have one. Art song always plays a major role in my world. However, I do not see it represented in the world of those not involved with learning or performing classical music. Oh, go back. Do you think art song has an ability to resonate with new audiences? So on this one, we had 22 people say yes, absolutely. 8 say yes in some ways. So of our 30 people that were answering all these questions, no one thought that it's not doesn't have the ability to resonate with new audiences. So that was pretty exciting. Some of the cool responses here. If we reflect the communities we wish to serve on stage and tell their stories, then it will resonate. No doubt, art song creates a more intimate space than choral music, my main gig. What you can accomplish with such intimacy is boundless. I think art song performed in the language of the audience stands a chance. And down here, the online medium that performers and composers have been forced to explore by the pandemic opens up a myriad of new avenues for art song. And we've got one more slide here. So do you have any other thoughts on themes we plan to cover in the summit or other issues that might be addressed? So this was pretty open-ended. I think we got some really good ones here. I think there should be critical examination of what we mean by innovation, especially since I believe that word invokes for many people thoughts of technology. Whether or not something is innovative, what are the standards by which we determine whether it is meaningful? A very valid question. And I think we're going to explore that throughout the summit. We also had, I would love to hear the topic of diverse composers discussed. And we had cultural sensitivity. Most of them, meaning art songs, are written by and for white middle upper class males. How to reconcile these issues with Black Lives Matter and Stop Asian Hate. And then we also had one comment here, looking forward to it. So I just thought that was a really wonderful collection of responses from you all. So we had about 30 people, like I said, mostly performers and composers and educators. And it was really eye-opening to see what we already think is innovative in art song and what's already happening. And I hope that throughout the summit, we'll be able to discuss those themes further. So without further ado, I am now going to introduce to you the co-creative director and vocalist of The Wandering, which we'll be viewing this weekend. Jeremy Weiss is an innovative, inspiring, and talented colleague of mine, and he is a recent graduate of the Jacobs School of Music. So Jeremy, take it away. I'm going to spotlight you.
Thanks for the introduction, Spencer. It's a joy to be here with everybody. I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to introduce all of you to The Wandering, a new immersive experience with Schubert's art song. During the past year, I've collaborated as the co-creative director and vocalist of The Wandering with a range of artists that I never imagined possible. Immersive theater makers, cinematographers, augmented reality developers, industrial designers, and beyond. Quite interestingly, many of my collaborators have never seen a live experience of Schubert's Lieder. Yet, Schubert's Lieder carried our team through the pandemic. And through his songs, we created a community of artists. And because of this experience, my team says they've fallen in love with his music. Schubert's Lieder also provided us with nearly endless creative material. The song's intimacy allowed us to create art that is personal, vulnerable, and human. Their imagery in text and music allowed us to develop a clear narrative, while their abstraction allowed us to imagine outside of the boundaries of our reality. You'll see that while we work to stay as true as possible to the essence of Schubert's text and music, many of our interpretations are markedly non-literal. We'll discuss that and the whole creative process of the piece further during our presentation on Saturday night. Throughout the year, we also thought a lot about futurity, about imagining the future as it could be in the present moment. Through Schubert's music, our aim was to refract the past through the present and into the future. A future where what is wunderlich about us, wondrous, strange, queer, is celebrated rather than alienated. As many of you also know, Schubert and his friends originally performed art songs in their living rooms during Liederabends. So too are we inviting audiences to experience his music at home, the only performance venue we have right now, while also transforming it and queering it for our digital reality. I think it's also important to say our goal is not to replace art song as presented in the concert hall. I love art song concerts, but rather to inspire innovation. We wanted to create art that responds to the moment, art that challenges us, art that approaches the universal through the contemporary, not through its rejection. And we created this experience with the idea in mind that art song can be something that everyone, no matter their background, can find engaging. That all being said, The Wandering is one way to imagine the future of art song, and we hope you'll imagine with us. This is the first time that The Wandering will be viewed by a public audience. And through our artistic exploration, we have pushed some very new technology, namely augmented reality and net art, to its limits. As the very first audience to experience this work in advance of the wider public release on April 15th, we hope you'll feel free to reach out to us if you need any help along the way. A member of my team or I will always be accessible in the Summit Zoom room or on Slack. Because our public release date is still a few weeks away, the version you will see is a very late draft. And I hope you will join us for the full production and spread word about it, which also includes an interactive package shipped to you in the mail, which we couldn't include for this virtual version of the piece. Because we are in our final iterative stages, we would also appreciate any and all feedback or questions about the experience. Feel free to message us that feedback on Slack throughout the summit or engage with us over email at info@experiencethewandering.com. You can also use Slack or the Zoom chat to submit questions you'd like our panel to answer on Saturday night. The first episode is unlocked now. It unlocked at noon today. And when the second episode unlocks at 8 p.m. tonight, the first will disappear. So be sure to experience the first episode between now and 8 p.m. tonight. The films are about 10 minutes each. You'll see the first film's slightly shorter, but the experience in each episode can last up to a half an hour depending on how much you explore and how much time you take with the interactions. You can access the show now throughout the summit at experiencethewandering.com/summit. As a reminder, the piece is best experienced on Google Chrome and on a computer. Do not experience the show on your phone. It's definitely best to experience it on a computer. Please also ensure that Zoom and any other unnecessary browsers and applications are closed while experiencing the piece. You can always log back into the Zoom meeting if you have any questions. Lastly, I would like to thank my IU Jacob School of Music collaborators, alumnus Jared O'Brien, our sound designer, current doctoral student Marika Yasuda, our pianist, and voice department professor Brian Gill, happy birthday Brian, who was the album producer and a huge driving force behind this project. I'd also like to give a very special thanks to Alain Barker and Ed Commentale for supporting the project and featuring it in the summit. Let's wander together. I'll pass it off to Colin as we prepare to experience the first episode in just a few minutes.
Thanks, Jeremy. Hi, everyone. If you open your chat, you'll notice I dropped a couple of links. One is the instructions that Jeremy just mentioned that's on a website. You also should have received these instructions via email this morning. And then I will repost it again. The link to view episode 1 is right now at the very bottom of the chat. So please go enjoy The Wandering. Again, we're going to keep this room open. If you have any issues, you can come back here and we can help you out. If you want to come back and discuss it after you experience it, we will be here. Otherwise, please, check out the Slack channel, and then we will be gathering again at 3 p.m. For a keynote talk on the history of innovation in art song with Alan Armstrong. So that's at 3 o'clock, this very same link. And I really hope you all enjoy episode 1 of The Wandering. So thank you all. And we'll see you soon.